Dispatch all biters. My quest to free the country of zombies. By Mystic Alchemist. Copyright 2020 Mystic Alchemist. All rights reserved. Written in Australian English. This book is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places and incidents are either a product of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual people living or dead, events or locales is purely coincidental. Chapter 16. Excavator. Something's wrong, I said while the others were deciding how they would find a large excavator and who would try to drive it first. They only move slow so it will be a long trip, Nigel said. We'll need to take turns. No. Everything we're doing. Something's wrong. They had more of my attention now. All day I've been thinking about what we should be planning for the future. Bigger explosions, Geraldine said quickly. Further than that, what do we do in a year from now? How do we live once we've taken all the chips? Do we stay driving around until we use all the fuel left, then what? We remove these invaders and take over the country, Nigel said. The three of us. In the game, a large country with no people is always invaded, especially one already set up. If these people from the east don't get it, someone else will. You're saying it's pointless, Nigel said softer now. Not exactly. I'm saying we need to think more and plan for the long term. If I'm queen, I bags being in charge of explosions and fires, Geraldine said. Agreed, Nigel said, then more softly, I've had thoughts like that too. In games you always have armies to use to hold a land. And we don't have an army. They have one. Those people in black. I think once more of those eastern people come, those men in black will go. That one we captured before wanted to get out. But he knew they wouldn't let him go alive. We chopped him, Geraldine said. We really had no other option at the time, I said. Here and now I would have kept him. You think we should capture all their troops, Nigel said. Maybe, but I don't think they have many, not enough to form an army. Look at all those invaders living around Cathy, all hiding in their house afraid to go out. And we worked all day and no one even came close to trying to stop us, even when they knew we were there. They didn't expect anyone else to be alive and weren't prepared, but that will change. I'm sure there are Eastern soldiers on their way here right now, I said. We should shoot their plane at the airport, Geraldine said. And they'll send another and another until we run out of bullets, I said, and even if we did capture this city, what about all the other cities? We could hide in the hills and make sneak attacks, Geraldine said, that'll be great fun. Until they surround us or we run out of chips and chocolate, Nigel said. Maybe the disease wasn't sent to the islands. We could find a boat and find normal people, I said. Like pirates, Geraldine said. I've got my patch ready. I just want to make sure you've got a life to enjoy for a long time, I said looking at the pirate in training. A life where you don't need to be looking over your shoulder every moment of the day. The longer we take deciding what we do, the less time we have before the Eastern troops come. We should go back and ask Cathy some questions, Nigel said. She did help you before. You just want to smooch, Geraldine said. You can have first go on the big gun on the way back, Nigel said. We need more than that, I said. I want a bus full of hostages. That's thinking, Nigel said. That's the best idea so far. Retreating the way we came, everyone now trying to find a bus on the road. It proved easier than we all expected, one heading right toward us when we were further into town into an area where there were no parked cars, the bus not even acknowledging us as it drove past. I had to turn right around and receive another of Nigel's instructions of how I should have turned with a 3-point turn. It didn't matter, we got around and I followed the bus until it stopped by the side of the road. Just like a normal bus, the door opened and people were getting out. Eastern people. We all ran toward them, weapons out and me yelling get back inside the bus. The driver understood and was waving his arms to the passengers to get back. All but one did. My axe stopped his advance but I didn't kill him, just leaving him with half a left arm. I pointed to the bus and he managed to get back inside, blood pouring everywhere. If he dies he'll turn, Nigel said. Even better, I said, and by the look of the other people on the bus, they realized that too. While the others covered the passengers, I talked to the driver in his clear plastic enclosure, and it was just like the truck driver on the way. He wasn't keen to be doing this job and said he had no loyalty to those in charge. If your passengers turn, will you be safe in here? I asked. He nodded. Whatever happens, we'll get you out safely. He nodded again. 157 Oak Hollow Road. We'll follow behind with the guns and you park across the house while we negotiate inside. He nodded again. Shut the door when we get out and don't open them again until we come to tell you. We were ready. The bus set off at a steady pace, easy for us to follow behind. We saw that wounded man die soon after we set off, watching everyone else cram in the very back of the bus. They all knew. Kathy's house was closer than I imagined. Maybe we'd taken the wrong way yesterday, and like then, there was no sign of anyone or any vehicles around. The bus driving slow as the driver counted numbers, and when he did stop it was right in front as I'd asked, but there was still space for our truck to fit in the driveway, facing inward so the guns had free sight out the back and could cover the front of the house. I'll take the first gun, Geraldine said. Nigel the second. He's no good with her, he'll just want to smooch. Looks like it's up to you, Nigel said to me. Knife and pistol in my pants, and screwdriver through my belt and axe in my hand, I was ready. She was waiting at the back door. You came back. We need to talk. You brought reinforcements. Better to be prepared. You know they will know. They would have tracked the bus. They would have heard phone calls from our hostages and they would have had calls from those around this house as well as images from all the cameras we passed, but all that is no help if your helicopter had been destroyed a day or so back and you have so few loyal troops. You think you're in a winning position then? Only for this instant. More troops and machines will soon come and they'll hunt us down easily. Even if we took over this city, how long would that last, days or weeks? There are too few of us to make a real way of holding this country. Even those collaborators will soon be surplus to requirements. I fear this land is doomed. That's why I needed your help, Kathy said. I worked that out too. I saw the ending but had no way of changing it. I thought together we might find a way. But it's more than a handful of people can do. I think there is only a few hundred in control. And more every day, and we've looked for survivors and not found them. Neither have I. We were still in the doorway. Come and talk to the others, I said. The man has changed and bitten one of the passengers, Nigel said as soon as he saw us. There was a real fight too, Geraldine said happily, her machine gun pointed toward the bus, the driver leaning away from the passenger shield. What are you doing with them? Kathy asked. Letting them go when we leave, I said, give them some of their own medicine back. That's cruel. That's what they did to us. What do you think we should do? Nigel said, looking toward Kathy with big puppy dog eyes. I was thinking of taking over this city and holding it, but I'm not so sure now. I was to be in charge of explosions and fires, Geraldine said. And you'd let her too, Kathy said, looking at me. A pirate boat, that's best now, Geraldine said. Haul the main brace. Keel haul the landlubbers. What's your job with them? I asked, everyone else serious instantly. Airport ground crew. I was considered essential. You went out last evening. Nigel said, Kathy nodding. How many people left in the city? I asked. Maybe 50. Power and water. That's included those workers. And the invaders. About 300 with maybe 100 more tonight. The undead will fix them, Nigel said. He's thinking, Geraldine said when I had said nothing for a bit. He's got his thinking face on. I didn't know I had a thinking face, but I was thinking hard. 2 questions for you, I said to Kathy. Do you want to try to help get this country back, and if so, will you help us do whatever is needed? Yes to both, she said instantly. What's your plan? With your help we recruit everyone that wants to join us, but we do it very quickly before reinforcements arrive. The new people in the planes. Our friends on the bus will help there. We're going to use their own disease against them. I'll go and tell our driver his new destination. While the others discussed the idea, I got 2 packs of chips and a bottle of drink and offered them to the bus driver, now imprisoned in his seat. I could see several more of his passengers had been bitten and the shrieking was very high in the back. He wasn't happy having to wait there until the evening, but his face did liven up when I sketched my plan out to him. Back with the others again, I asked if she knew where any of the others she worked with lived, and then made ready to go to the closest one, Geraldine in the back with the guns because Nigel wanted to ride in the front with his new love. Our bus tracking along behind us as Kathy directed me where to go, a house similar to Kathy's in a road where all windows were covered. Nigel will go with you while you convince those inside, and Geraldine and me will keep the outside safe. That had Nigel very happy and left us to arm ourselves while we prepared. This one, I said as soon as the others had disappeared, Geraldine armed with a long metal bar in her hand and me with my trusty axe. No pretense, I smashed the back door and burst in. No one close but the noise of foreign talking coming from ahead. We both raced there, seeing a man and woman side by side talking to a phone. I chopped the hand that was holding the phone and my partner bashed the other one, both us conscious of not hurting their heads. I had to spear my axe into my man's chest to push him down, and I saw Geraldine trying the same. It would be so much easier if we could just chop their brains. I ended up using my longest screwdriver to spear his heart and seeing Geraldine giving me space to do the same to the woman. Peace at last. I axed their phone to finish the job. Nothing else in the house, but we took a few of the foreign food packets to try, leaving the back door completely open as we left. Geraldine opening the packets and sampling the contents as we walked. Most dropped on the ground, but she seemed to like one and handed me a sample, a cereal. A little too sweet, but interesting. Kathy and Nigel had been too long, so I went inside to investigate, still with my axe. Those new undead would soon be waking and we needed to be away from here. He thinks it's too dangerous to fight against them, Nigel said, Kathy still trying to convince. He needs to decide now, the undead will be here soon. They all heard that. Join us now or take your chances. We had to get him to sit in the tray, Nigel said his leg was still too sore. What was that undead thing about? Nigel said as we set off toward the next person Kathy thought might help. While we were talking, they were making undead, Kathy said. I know his tactics. He'll fight until he wins. We did the same at this next house, a couple this time. Geraldine and me only found a single man next door, so went to the next house along and got a couple with a young boy there. 4 more undead to liven up the neighborhood. The couple had to ride in the back too. The bus was full of angry undead now, and they looked about ready to take their part in my plan later. Before we went to see the next person on Kathy's list, I asked her how many would we need. To totally control the airport, we might have enough, but the more we have now the better later. According to Nigel at our next stop, there was only 1 man and he definitely wasn't going to join us, Kathy nodding. When we were driving away, we left 2 new undead alongside his house to remind him that he'd chosen the wrong side. Airport now. We might recruit more when they come later, I said. We've got enough to work the building and work the computers, it should be enough.